新しいチャレンジがアクセラから始まります。
はい、ではお願いします。あれ、やばい。
Pre-actual IBT
ちょ
TOEFL
っと、角道を開ける前にこれはまずかったですね。
Directions. This section measures your ability to
中飛車
understand
にするとやりづらいん
conversations
じゃない
and
か。
lectures in English. You will hear each conversation or lecture only one time. After each conversation or lecture, you will answer some questions aloud. The questions typically ask about the main idea and supporting details. Some questions ask about a speaker's purpose or attitude. Answer the questions based on what is stated or implied by the speakers. You may take notes while you listen. You may use your notes
あ、
to
この
help
指し
you
方
answer
僕がや
the
ってるやつです
questions.
ね。
Your notes will not be scored. In some questions, you will see this icon. This means that you will hear but not see part of the question. Some questions have special directions. These appear in a gray box on the screen. Most questions are worth 1 point. A question worth more than 1 point will have special instructions indicating how many points you can receive. You must answer each question. After you answer, click Next. Then click OK to
まあ、角
confirm
道
your
開けておきま
answer
しょう。
and go to the next question.
こ
After
う打
you
たれて
click
も元に
on
戻る。
OK, you cannot return to previous questions. You will have 20 minutes to answer the questions in this section. A clock at the top of the screen will show you how much time is remaining. The clock will not count down while you are listening to test material. Note: in the listening section of the actual test, you will both hear and read the questions. Pre-actual TOEFL. Passage 1. Listen to part of a lecture in a business class. Business organizations.
あ、格好打たれますね。
Today we are going to discuss the formation and organization of businesses. One of the reasons I want you to understand about types of businesses is that nearly half of new businesses fail within the first 2 years. As business students, you will need to understand the formation of businesses to understand your role in the business world after you graduate from university. If you're an accounting major, you will need to know about businesses for different reasons than business students who continue on to study law. If you are thinking about getting a degree in marketing or management, you will need to have an understanding about the composition of the types of business organization you are working for. You will find there are various types of business organizations and that there are differences in each kind because of the different factors which must be thought about and which are important when forming a business organization. The primary considerations for deciding on the type of business are
中飛車はこう、攻めに
taxes
手を
and
かけないといけない
continuity.
なっていうのを感じますね。
The three main types of businesses I want to talk to you about are the sole proprietorship, the partnership, and the corporation. The proprietorship is probably the simplest type of business organization. For example, if you enjoy gardening, like working with flowers and vegetables, and want to begin a business of your own without anyone else being involved, then a sole proprietorship is what you would probably consider. This type of business is very easy to form. All you need to do is find an open sign to hang on a door, and you're in
まあ、
business.
左が入ったら、
You'll be the person making decisions about where you want to locate your business, what items you will sell, and how much you want to charge for items. Advertising and all methods of marketing your products will be your decision. You will decide hours of operation, whether to hire employees, and make decisions such as whether you want to expand in the future or keep the size of your
同志なら同
business
志社が
small. You, personally,
同
will
志社
be
で、
responsible
同志社な
for
ら
keeping track of income, paying expenses, and filing taxes.
銀年の時に、被写当たりの選定ですね。
Common sense tells you what the advantages and disadvantages of a proprietorship are. In a proprietorship, you have the advantage of making your own decisions and spending as much or as little time as you want with the business. If the business is successful, you will be the reason. If it fails, you also will probably be the reason. Some of the disadvantages are very obvious. How many hours do you want to work each day or week? What happens to the business if you want to take a vacation? Will you have problems if you cannot supply all of your customers' needs? What problems may result if you are not a good record keeper?
こう
If your
格
business
運ちを開けられ
fails
るの
and you
が
owe suppliers, then you will personally
Yeah,
be
that's it, yeah.
responsible to them. Because of some of the disadvantages I just mentioned, some people prefer to form a partnership.
下を振
There
り
are
ます
various
か。
forms of partnerships, but as business
2回歩
students,
打てば銀
you
が
need
取
to
れますね。
understand what a basic or general partnership is. A partnership is a voluntary association between two or more people who carry on a business for the purpose of making a profit.
うい
For example, you and a friend decide you want to buy houses, fix them up and make repairs, and then resell them. If one of you has money to invest and the other has talent, such as construction experience, to invest, then you can form a partnership. If both of you have money to invest and no construction experience, then you can also form a partnership. If you both have construction experience but no money, then as a practical matter to make a partnership work, you better think about getting another partner, one with money. In a general partnership, the partners are expected to share the work
この
equally
銀が非常に
or
浮いてますね。
contribute equally in time spent in the business. Partners share profits and losses of the business, and they are equally responsible for expenses. Partnerships file informational tax returns, but the partners are taxed on the partnership's income as individuals. Sometimes people entering a partnership will prepare a partnership agreement or will have an attorney prepare a partnership agreement for them. But I have known people who have been in partnership for years without any kind of a written agreement. So, a partnership can be easy to
同銀
form
ならど
as
う
a
し
sole
た。
proprietorship, but it also has a potential for greater growth or loss. Also, as a practical matter, people may want to think about going into partnerships with friends. Sometimes, being in business with a friend can be the end of a friendship. A corporation is the third main type of business organization. One main advantage of a corporation is that its life is continuous. You all know that corporation owners are called shareholders, and that corporations have officers who run the company and boards of directors which make decisions in the best interests of the company. Another advantage of a corporate form of business is that there is limited liability. The owners or shareholders can only be liable for the company's losses up to the amount he or she has invested. So that is definitely an advantage for small investors. One of the main disadvantages of the corporate form is that there can be a greater taxation. But there are accounting decisions which can make the tax bite less. Remember, you are not yet owners, accountants, managers, attorneys, or corporate officers. At this point in time, you do not need to have a detailed understanding of any of the business forms I have discussed. What you do need to remember is the general information about each
僕
form,
が
and know that
僕が
when you
後手なら
become
3五歩
involved in a
7五歩を
business
つきます
and
ね。
need help in understanding something, there are experts to whom you can turn.
Now get ready to answer the questions. You may use your notes to help you answer.
Number 1. What is the lecture mainly about? Number 2. In the lecture, the professor describes some characteristics of a corporation. Indicate whether each is a characteristic. Click in the correct box for each statement. Number 3. Why does the professor mention that many new businesses fail within the first 2 years? Number 4. According to the professor, what is one important characteristic of a sole proprietorship?
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
Number 5. What does the professor mean
あ、
when
で、
he
これ
says
で貯金
this?
が寄りますね、これ。
Sometimes being in business with a friend can be the end of a friendship.
Listen again to part of the lecture, then answer the question.
What you do need to remember is the general information about each form, and know that when you become involved in a business and need help in understanding something, there are experts to whom you can turn.
Number 6.
これが銀を活用する意義ですね。
Why does the professor say this?
There are experts to whom you can turn.
これ桂馬を取られ、飛車式、桂馬を取って、金取りには角打ちがありますね。
Passage 2. Listen to part of a conversation between a student and a professor. The student's test scores and study method.
Good morning,
それ
Professor
でには
Smith.
角打ちがあるんですよ。
Hello, Tom. You wanted to talk to me about your classwork?
Yes, I seem not to be doing as well in your class as I would like.
Well, let me take a look at the test scores I have recorded for you. Well, I see the first test score is not too bad. The next two, though, are lower. In fact, the third grade is failing.
I know. I'm doing worse on each test.
Well, it looks as though you are borderline right now. We have 2 more tests and then the final exam, so I am sure that with hard work you can pass the course. Tell me, how have you been studying for tests?
Well, I've been reading the material the night before the test.
Well, that's fine if you are rereading it, but you should be reading it every day before class so you understand the material. You know, in this class, every lesson builds on the other. Do you review your class notes before a test?
Well, a little, but I think the book's material is the most important.
Well, the text's material is important, but so is the material I lecture about. Many of the questions are taken from my lectures because I cover material that is in addition to what is in your textbook. So you should review your class notes each day after class to make sure you understand what we covered in class.
まあ、桂打
Well,
ちです
I
かね。
don't have too many class notes.
Well, I am beginning to see some things that you need to do to get a better understanding of the materials we are covering in this course. The first thing I suggest is to read each assignment before you come to
こんな
class.
感じですかね。
This is a difficult course and may be one that you need to take notes as you read. Sometimes students can underline the text or highlight important parts, but perhaps in your case, I would suggest writing down important ideas.
I guess I can try that method. Maybe if I write it down as I am reading, it will keep me more focused on the material.
Yes, I think it will. Also, try to come to class every time it meets and listen very carefully to what I am
金を取り
lecturing
ましょう
about.
か。
Take detailed notes on my lectures also.
あ、歩を取りましょうか
After
ね。
class, go to the
これっていいです
library
か
or back home and recopy your notes. Then if you
あ、
don't
英語までの逃げても
understand
金打ちまで
something
で
that
い
we
いですね。
discussed
あ、あ
in
りがとうございまし
class,
た。
call a friend who is in the class. If he or she can't help you
ああ、中飛車
understand
で
the
勝ちましたね。は
material
い。
or answer your
中飛
question,
車と
then
三間飛
please
車はよ
call
く指し
me
ますね。
or set
は
up
い。
an
居飛車党で
appointment
も。
to
は
meet
い。
with me. I will try
そ
to
れではご
explain
視聴ありがとうござい
anything
ま
you
した。
cannot
チャンネル登録を
understand.
していただけると最
Well,
新のアッ
I
プロード
am
情報を
embarrassed
お
when I
届け
don't
できます。
understand things.
Tom, many first